Imagine living in a world where the internet vanishes overnight, not as a technical glitch, but as a calculated punishment for speaking out. That's the reality for residents of Annobón, a remote island in Equatorial Guinea, where a protest against a Moroccan construction company triggered a brutal crackdown, mass arrests, indefinite internet shutdowns, and a collapse of essential services. But here's where it gets controversial. The company in question denies any involvement in the blackout, while the government remains silent. And this is the part most people miss: how cutting off the internet isn't just about silencing dissent, but about severing lifelines. Let's break it down. Last July, dozens of Annobón residents signed a letter to the capital, Malabo, decrying the environmental destruction caused by Somagec, a Moroccan firm linked to President Teodoro Obiang Nguema. Their complaints? Dynamite blasts polluting farmland and water sources. What followed was swift and severe. Signatories faced imprisonment for nearly a year, while the island's internet connection was yanked out of thin air. Today, locals report impossible living conditions. Banks are offline, hospitals can't handle emergencies, and phone bills spiral out of control because calls are the only way to communicate. One resident who fled to exile described the surveillance state. Phone calls are monitored. Saying the wrong thing could get you targeted. This isn't just about censorship. It's about control. When governments shut down the internet, they often instruct telecom providers to block specific areas or sites. But in Annobón, the blackout has persisted for months, leaving residents stranded in a digital void. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's rumored easing of corruption sanctions on the vice president adds another layer of complexity. Is this political retaliation or a pattern of repression? The Moroccan company, Somagec, claims it's not to blame and insists it uses a private satellite for its operations. Yet locals say even that backup is inaccessible to them. Equatorial Guinea's president, Africa's longest-serving leader, has ruled for over half his 83 years, while his son, the vice president, faces international corruption charges. The UN recently rejected the country's demand to reclaim a Paris mansion seized in a French probe, citing insufficient evidence. Yet despite oil wealth, 57% of the population lives in poverty. Activists argue that Annobón's struggles are emblematic of a deeper issue: systemic marginalization. Their isolation isn't just political, it's cultural, societal, and economic, says a representative from a global advocacy group. The island's history is fraught with tensions. Annobón, home to 5,000 people, has long sought independence, accusing the central government of neglect. A 2013 airport built by Somagec promised connectivity but delivered little. Now, the internet blackout has exacerbated crises. Hospitals can't operate, banks are frozen, and communities are cut off from the world. You're leaving people incommunicado, says an activist. This case raises a provocative question. Is cutting the internet a legitimate tool for managing dissent, or a weaponized tactic of oppression? Felicia Anfano of Access Now argues that when people can challenge leaders online, authorities panic. So they go after the internet first, she says. Meanwhile, Somagec's CEO defends the blasts as critical for construction, citing environmental assessments. But for Annobón's residents, the damage is already done, and the silence is deafening. What do you think? Is this a necessary security measure, or a blatant violation of human rights? Share your perspective in the comments. After all, in a world where internet access is increasingly tied to survival, the line between freedom and control has never been thinner.